It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. I have a special guest today, my friends. I have brought my mom along, and it's going to be very helpful to have you here because we're going to one of your favorite groups. It's the Carpenters today, y'all. So last month we celebrated National Women's History Month on our fan favorite series over on Patreon, and we had about 9 or 10 songs out of 70 that made that had enough votes to make it to our video. But the last song, the first song that was left out was Superstar by the Carpenters. And I was reminded, like, I should do this. I should just make room in the fan favorites video for Superstar.
Yes, you should.
But I thought, Mom's coming to our place very soon, and we could
Why not?
We could put this on the channel. So
Sure.
yeah. So did you ever get to see the Carpenters live?
I did not.
Back in the day?
So when I first came to hear and love the Carpenters was just listening to my radio on maybe an 8-track.
An 8-track. 6-track, 8-track.
8-track.
Okay, I only know 6-pack.
8-track.
8-track.
That was before this. So
I remember
this
the
was
8-track in Grandma's Cadillac.
Right.
Yeah.
This was like late 60s, early 70s. And I never saw them in concert because they didn't tour that much.
Okay.
But they were on like the Ed Sullivan Show. They were on the Andy Williams Show. They were on the radio. And that's where I learned to love the voice of Karen Carpenter.
So so some of your favorite memories of hearing them is on your radio and then just watching them on variety shows.
Right.
On TV. Really cool. Cool.
Right.
So this song, friends, like many of the Carpenters' hits, was originally written and recorded by other people.
True.
It was originally known by the name Groupie, and then in parentheses, Superstar. That was the original name of the song. And it was written by Bonnie Bramlett and Leon Russell, and they released it in 1969 as a B-side to Delaney and Bonnie's single, Comin' Home.
Wow, I did not know that.
And interestingly enough, from what I read in, if it's true, Eric Clapton played on that original recording.
Oh, wow.
As a guitar player. So here's what happened. I always find really interesting information, even on these songs that I have heard before. And it's always quite fascinating to see how the art gets made. So Rita Coolidge began performing this song while she was on tour with Joe Cocker, because she had heard it on this original single release. And Bette Midler, a young Bette Midler, started singing it because she heard Rita Coolidge sing it and she thought it would be good for her. So in February of 1971, Bette Midler sang it on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
I watched, my parents watched Johnny religiously. And
Johnny.
I would occasionally tune in, and I remember the songs that Johnny even loved.
Yeah.
And Carpenters were right there.
Johnny, I remember, loved Bette Midler. She was his
Yes.
last guest.
That's true.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So Richard Carpenter was watching when Bette Midler sang the song on the Tonight Show, and he thought this would be good for Karen and I to put on our current record that we are recording. And so within just a few weeks, Richard had put together an arrangement of it, and they recorded it. And 3 months after that, the self-titled Carpenters album was released in May of 1971, and they had Rainy Days and Mondays on that one. They had For All We Know, and they had Superstar on that album. And the album earned them 4 Grammy nominations, and they won for Best Contemporary Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group.
Her voice was the right voice to sing with. I was not a singer growing up, but I could sing with her.
Yeah, right, because she's in that nice low alto range, or almost a
Right.
tenor range. Yeah.
Right. And so my voice was always low, but I could sing. I couldn't sing with the other bands on the radio, but I could sing with her.
In her register.
Right.
I'll be darned. Should we hear it?
Sure.
Let's listen to it. We've got Karen Carpenter on vocals. Richard Carpenter is on keyboards and backing vocals, and he is also our arranger of this particular one. Is that going to mess? Richard is the arranger. Is that going to mess up your hair? You're okay. Okay.
He was the one that was really musically trained. Karen wasn't.
She just naturally could do it.
She studied music in college, but hers was a first as a drummer.
Right.
And then as a vocalist.
So Karen's not playing drums on this recording. Hal Blaine is. Joe Osborne is on the bass, and Earl Dumler plays the oboe. So we get to hear that. Let's hear it, y'all. This is going to be Superstar. Of course, you know this one. I've heard it, but it's been a long time. So I'm going to be listening for what's going on in the harmonies of this and see if I can figure out what makes this song so just beautiful and make it work. So let's do it. Here is Superstar from the Carpenters. Off we go. A little harp at the beginning. There's that oboe, right? And there's some strings in there. They aren't listed in what I heard. Horns. Beautiful.
It is. I love it.
Long ago, and oh so far away.
It's got that vibrato and warmness in that low register.
Beautiful.
That soothes, right? As a sound.
Before the second show.
They're in F minor, friends. So it starts on the 1 chord. Down to the 6. So the bass is just going down by step in the key. And then they hit this B dominant 7th chord, which chromatically switches to the D flat. And then they land on the C.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby?
And then we get into the chorus, and it's in the relative major. Sing it.
I love you. I really do.
And then for the verses, we get back to the relative minor. So they're switching back and forth.
Okay.
In the verses, they're in the minor key. And in the chorus, they're in the major key. That's why it has that shift. Pretty. Yeah, there's that landing on the minor key. And we're going to get ready for the next verse.
Loneliness is such a sad
They don't want to hear me sing. They want to hear Karen sing.
and I can hardly wait to be with you again.
It's like a low F for her.
Yeah.
What to say to make you come again?
And I think that these verses are relatively nebulous. There's not a great melody or overriding, like, yeah, if I heard that, I would recognize it. It's the chorus that's the hook.
Don't you remember you told me
You know?
you loved me, baby?
Even in Tommy Boy,
Right.
they were crying while they were driving down the road listening to this before they hit the deer, right?
That's
Baby, 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 oh baby, I love you. I really
Great arrangement from Richard, too. It allows Karen's voice to be up front.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? Said you'd be coming back this way again.
And the chorus starts on the 4 chord. 4, 3, 2, 1, in A flat, then the lowered 7th.
she can do it.
And that D flat chord is where they pivot to get back to F minor. Except here, the song ends.
Oh.
The song ends. It could have gone on, right? We needed another verse.
One more verse.
Yeah, but it's only those 2 verses.
That's amazing.
and a couple of choruses. And the chord that they ended it on, I think, was C minor, which was the minor 5 to F, but it's the 3 chord to A flat. It's kind of nebulous. It kind of leaves it unfinished.
Oh.
It's a really interesting choice about what they did there. So, was that all you remembered?
My fondest memories of her are just singing along with her. She was mesmerizing. Her voice was mellow. She was one that would just draw you in
And soothe you.
and
right?
soothe you,
Yeah.
and you would spend hours, or I would, just listening to her voice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was tragic the way she died.
Yeah, it was. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
I always thought that this song was called "Don't You Remember You Told Me You Loved Me, Baby." So
No.
when I saw the song title as Superstar, I didn't realize it was that song.
A groupie.
Yeah. So, I didn't realize that it was called Superstore, nor that it was about a groupie's fascination with the rock star.
Rock star, right?
I was just thinking it was about a relationship that was unfulfilled, but it's about this woman
Right.
who falls for a rock musician, and they have this romantic rendezvous,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then apparently he tells her that he loves her, and she falls for it, and she keeps waiting for him to come back, but
And
he's on tour.
gone.
He's gone.
Yeah,
he's on
he's
tour.
gone.
And then the longer he's gone, the more her delusion and not delusion, but her longing for that love,
Right.
that spark to come back. It's a really sad tune.
It is. The other songs from the Carpenters duo were a lot were melancholy, and they were love songs, and they were songs that in the 70s I related to.
Yeah.
They were not rock songs; they were soft rock.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who one of her fans? I've stumped the Doug.
Well, everybody's a fan of Karen Carpenter.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson was a fan of hers.
Well,
Right.
there you go.
Yeah. Who knew?
So Richard's breakthrough skill, what we heard is in his arranging and his orchestrating. He was the
Right.
mastermind behind how these songs are put together to maximize Karen's ability and the ability of the players that they had with them.
Right, but he's also played the piano masterfully.
Yeah, he's a keyboardist.
Right.
And, Karen's breakthrough skill, like we were talking about, is not only her voice, but her drumming.
Right.
And she
True.
started off being the band's full-time drummer, but she eventually took over and became...
She was shy.
Yeah, then became the lead person out front.
I think she hid behind her drum set.
It's a great place to hide.
Right. And
Especially
I
you got a
think
stick, you can defend yourself.
She was comfortable back there,
Yeah.
but they urged her to get out in front and just lead the vocals.
Yeah, and she did
I
great.
know that there has been lots written and talked about her dubbing her own voice,
Sure.
overdubbing. Is
Right.
that what's
Well, here it sounds almost like a chorus effect. I don't know if they overlaid the exact same vocal and maybe
Oh.
like moved it just a hair, because I read that
Right.
she sang this vocal as she read the lyrics from a napkin, because Richard had changed a little bit of the lyrics around to make
Okay.
it a little bit less risque.
Yes.
And apparently she recorded this initial guide vocal for the rest of the band, but they never re-recorded her vocal. As far as I understand from what I
one
read,
take.
she sang it in one take, and the first take was the one that
Was the one.
was the one.
That was a gift.
Yeah, really
That was a
great.
gift.
And sadly, y'all, of course, all of y'all know this, she would lose her battle with anorexia and heart-related disease
yeah.
in 1983
Wow, too soon.
at the young age of 32, which meant that when she sang this, was around 20 or 21.
Very young. She was about 6 years older than me at the time, so yes. And she was a role model. I sang in a chorus, so choral sounds, the way they laid their tracks
Yeah.
was appealing to me.
Sure.
And like I said earlier, I could actually sing in her range.
Match her range.
Right.
Which gave you a chance to
Which
join in.
Which is why I loved it.
That's really cool. Well, I'm glad that we were able to do this.
Thank you.
Right? So apparently it worked out. So not, this song didn't get into our fan favorites last month, but it gave us an opportunity to spend a few minutes listening to the Carpenters together.
Always.
I remember listening to the Carpenters as a kid. Y'all, we had a cassette tape of the
Yes.
greatest hits.
Right.
And when we would go to Grandma's house, we'd listen to the greatest hits cassette in the car.
Calling Occupants.
Oh, that was another one that I remember.
I remember
we
that
really
one.
liked. But this one was great, and it's a classic song. Of course, everybody loved it, and that's why it became such a great, great tune for them, and one that has stood the test of time.
I love it. Always will listen. Always.
Well, thank you for listening with
You're
me.
welcome.
And thank you all for being with us here on the Daily Doug today. We'll have to do this again sometime.
We will.
When I'm at your house, we'll do another one.
Awesome.
All right? Well, thank you all for being with us, and we will see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.